It's been a tough couple of weeks for the Final Fantasy VII Remake. We've seen Square Enix have to break the uncomfortable news that they were going to need to delay the game to ensure it would be as good as they feel it can be. And in addition, they've had to deal with numerous leaks. First relating to the PlayStation Network demo, and then relating to a ton of screenshots that revealed new gameplay details, certain sequences, and how unrevealed characters would look. They were losing control of the narrative, but now, thanks to a brand new trailer that was also used to debut the game's brand new vocal theme, they are well and truly back in the driving seat. In terms of length, this new trailer was on par with the E3 2019 trailer, but due to how close we are to launch now, the content revealed was a bit less superficial, and it has taken away some of the surprise. But it's understandable given what's happened, and if that doesn't bother you, strap yourselves in, because we're going to be providing an extensive breakdown of the trailer with a heavy focus on things that weren't front and center. And perhaps the best place to start in this regard is ancillary details that relate to the vocal theme. Despite initial denials, we've known for some time that Nobuo Uematsu would be involved with the Final Fantasy VII Remake original soundtrack. We just didn't know in what capacity. Now though, we know that at a minimum, Uematsu has composed a new vocal theme called Hollow. It will be sung by Yosh, who's the lead vocalist of Japanese rock band Survive, said The Prophet, and the lyrics were written by Kazushige Nojima. Alongside this announcement, it was also revealed in a much softer capacity that Masashi Hamwazu and Mitsuto Suzuki would be the principal composers of the remake's original soundtrack. There has been much debate for some time about who the composer or composers would be. Some felt Shimomura would make sense due to her close relationship with Nomura. Others, like myself and Lauren, were hoping that either Naoshi Mizuta or Takaharu Ishimoto would be given a chance, but both Hamwazu and Suzuki have a close relationship with Kitase and Toriyama due to their work on the 13 trilogy and Mobius, so it is a logical choice. Hamwazu actually resigned from Square Enix following the completion of Final Fantasy XIII and had a diminished role in its two sequels, with Suzuki and Mizuta taking over. He resigned because composing so much video game music had pushed him beyond his limits, leaving him exhausted and jaded. But after learning that Uematsu had personally recommended him as a composer for the remake, he wanted to push himself to deliver one last time. Suzuki also noted that there's quite a large sound team working on the remake, so it will be interesting to see how many other contributors there are and how expansive the soundtrack will be, given that it just deals with Midgar. Final Fantasy XV, for example, had over 11 different composers and arrangers contributing to the final soundtrack, and Suzuki noted that his primary responsibility has been to create new material, as within the original Final Fantasy VII soundtrack, only the first disc focused around Midgar. In terms of the rest of the trailer, well, there were some pretty obvious changes that cropped up almost immediately during the famed water tower sequence. Sitting under a picturesque starry sky, Cloud spoke to Tifa about leaving Nibelheim to join Soldier and become like Sephiroth. But compared to the original version, some tweaks have been made. Cloud's appearance, for example, has gone from a black t-shirt with green shorts, green hair tie and brown boots, to a white t-shirt with black collar, blue shorts, black hair tie and black boots. The environment has also been modified. The water tower itself is now much larger in scale, and the windmill has been spruced up compared to earlier appearances, even seeing some small deviations compared to the Tifa key art that was released not too long ago. We can also see that the two-story house in the background has been toned down. In the original game and in Crisis Core, this house featured a boatload of chimneys, but now there appear to be only two. Tifa's appearance was very faithful to the original, however, as she was wearing the same colour dress and shoes. There's just a lot more detail now. Sticking on the theme of visual changes, there has been a lot of anticipation around the Don Corneo side quest, and seeing Cloud in a dress did not disappoint. What's interesting though is how much has been changed in comparison to the original. Cloud's dress now has a much different style and has received considerable embellishment. The colour has also been subdued, perhaps because it was too similar to Tifa's, but as in the original, there will no doubt be various dresses to choose from, as well as different options relating to hair, tiaras and fragrances. So think of this only as a partial reveal of what will no doubt be in store within the final game. Due to the use of different angles, we also got to see a much more detailed look at how Aerith and Tifa will get dolled up during the segment, and we can see some slight tweaks have been made to their dresses. But while that's interesting and all, those of you who are eagle-eyed will have noticed that Don Corneo's office has also been rearranged, with the desk lamp now appearing on the other side and one of his rather large statues now appearing behind his desk. Koch, one of Don Corneo's 2 bodyguards, also featured in the background. Within the trailer, much focus was also placed on Cloud receiving a makeover within the Honeybee Inn. This particular sequence, which has been spruced up no end, was optional within the original game, and it was also random how good the makeover you received was. If they choose to use the same implementation again, that would be a nice subtle nod to the original. Similar attention to detail has also been paid to the infiltration of the Shinra Headquarters. Within the original, you had the choice of sneaking in or going in all guns blazing. We don't know if that choice will still be retained, but we do know that the sneaking option will make an appearance. We got to see Cloud, Barrett and Tifa running up the back staircase, and the nice touch here was that each of them will run at different paces, as none of them were seen on the same floor. We don't know if each floor will still house special items and enemies like the original, but there are fight sequences within the headquarters where only one party member is present, so they could end up taking different routes and getting separated. It was also quite surprising to see the vent crawling given screen time. There are a few instances of this within the original, but this specific sequence was a precursor to the big executive meeting, as the entry point is clearly a toilet, as opposed to say the storage room on floor 63. In terms of Shinra personnel, we had already seen most of the Turks, President Shinra and Heidegger, but within this trailer we also got to see Reeve Tuesti, Scarlet, Palmer and Professor Hojo. Reeve was showing his customary concern for citizens, Palmer was suitably eccentric, with them even making reference to his well-known love of tea and lard. Scarlet was also represented in a masterful way. It just oozed so much personality, and given what we've seen from her in this trailer, focus has to now be on how far they're going to take the slapping contest with Tifa within a future part. Her appearance was pretty much spot on, although it is interesting to see that they decided to change her earring. As head of weapons development, it will also be interesting to see what test she is overseeing during the small clip. It could relate to either the Sister Ray expansion of the Mako cannon or the development of Prow Clod. Professor Hojo was also on point. He sounded cold, calculating and sinister, and it was great to see this aspect expanded upon with him watching events from a control room. On that note, it will be curious whether the screen in the bottom left-hand corner is hinting at something in regard to his nefarious experiments. The pods are quite different from what we saw in the Nibelheim Mako reactor, but we do know that Hojo didn't just confine his experimentation to that single area. The long-awaited reveal of Red XIII also took place within this trailer. His appearance was very reminiscent of Advent Children, but now he's much bulkier and has softer colouring in his snout. It's unclear whether he will be playable within this first part though, as unlike the tease of Tifa during the trailer back in May, Red XIII doesn't appear in the party list when fighting despite being present on the field. Red XIII also appeared in the trailer alongside Aerith and Barrett ahead of the fight against the 100 Gunner, just like in the original. The reveal that was most unexpected within this trailer though was that of Jenova. Within the original, Jenova was much more muted within the Midgar segment, but now the storage tank has been spruced up in a rather significant manner, and Jenova will even appear as a pretty expansive boss fight. It's also been made apparent that there will be big changes to this sequence, as Cloud's breakdown will be much more pronounced, and Sephiroth will make an appearance despite Jenova still quite clearly being contained. Given some of the dialogue that featured, Aerith will also be much more forthcoming about what she knows about her heritage, Jenova, and what needs to be done to save the planet. During the latter half of the trailer, there were also quite a few smaller details that made an appearance. For example, we got to see a few new weapons featured. Cloud was using the Mithril Saber, and during the same sequence, Barrett was using a potentially new weapon. It had loose similarities to the assault gun, and also kind of looked weirdly similar to Missing Score, but that would be very unlikely given it's Barrett's ultimate weapon. Barrett did though use the Atomic Scissors, which confirms that he's able to use melee attacks just like in the original. We also got to see a couple more enemies reimagined, like the Sword Dancer and Vargid Police, both of which were fought during the infiltration of the Shinra Headquarters. Heli Gunner, one of the more memorable bosses, also featured for the first time, and more summons were given the spotlight. Chocomog, which was revealed via some screenshots before, featured during a fight against some sweepers, and Leviathan, which within the original wasn't obtained until Wutai, made an appearance during the fight against the Heli Gunner. And then, to round things out, there was the motorcycle chase sequence. Here we got to see the classic BA-37 type motor tricycle in action alongside Cloud's Hardy Daytona. It was only a cutscene, but it will no doubt be part of the epic conclusion to part 1 of the Final Fantasy VII Remake. The crazy thing is though, that even though they've shown off significant portions of the game since its reveal last May, it feels like this is only a fragment of what's in store within the final experience. In reality, we still know very little about the actual content, such as the array of weapons, which materia and summons we will be able to acquire, which bosses and enemies will or won't be appearing, and how much each of the NPCs will be expanded upon. What they've shown us so far is just the start, a teaser before the finished product puts the meat on the bones. From looking around the community though, I've seen nothing but positive vibes resonating out about this most recent trailer. But we'd love to hear your comments about which part has got you most excited in particular to experience the Final Fantasy VII Remake on the 10th of April. If you enjoyed the video, then please also be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. And we don't mention it that much anymore, but if you would like to support us, feel free to check out our Patreon. There's a link in the description below. Alright guys, this is Daryl signing out. As always, a big thank you to all our Patreon and YouTube membership supporters, and of course, a big thank you to all of you for watching this video. I hope to see you all again soon for more Final Fantasy goodness.